If you're a senior cloud architect, a clean architecture diagram is your best friend. It's your map. But what if that map could do more than just show logic? What if it could show you where the money is going before you spend it? Today, we're diving into how to make cloud costs a visible first-class citizen right there in your blueprints. We're turning a simple diagram into a powerful financial guide.
Look, we've all been there, right? You design this beautiful, scalable, super resilient system. The diagram, it looks absolutely perfect. But then, a few months down the line, the cloud bill shows up and, whoa, it tells a much, much more expensive story. That huge gap between the elegant design and the painful reality, that, my friends, is the diagram's blind spot. So let me ask you a direct question. What is your architecture diagram not telling you? I mean, really think about it. It shows the services, the data flow, the structure, all the good stuff. But what's the one piece of crucial information that's almost always missing? It's the cost, the operational, real-world cost. And here's what that looks like. On one hand, you've got what our diagrams are great at showing us: services, components, data flow, security boundaries. But on the other hand, you've got the reality they hide. Things like killer egress costs, the true price of scaling up, those super pricey service tiers you didn't think about, and all those other little operational gotchas that just ambush your budget. Okay, but what if we could actually change that? What if our blueprints could speak the language of both technology and finance? Well, that's the whole idea here. We're going to transform our standard diagrams into what I call a cost-aware blueprint. Just think about this for a second. In a design review, you would never, ever ignore security. You never ignore scalability. The goal here is to get cost on that same level. We need to make it a primary design element right from day one. It's a pretty fundamental shift in how we think about architecture, but it's so important.
And this should look familiar to all of us, the standard blueprint. It's clean, it's logical, it communicates the technical plan really, really well. But from a FinOps perspective, it's totally silent. It gives you zero clues about where the financial landmines are buried. So how do we give our diagrams a financial voice? Let's get practical. It's actually pretty simple. We're going to focus on 3 easy but incredibly powerful annotations that you can add to literally any diagram you have. First up, the egress path. This is probably one of the most common causes of cloud bill shock. Anytime data moves out of your cloud network, or even just between different regions, chances are there's a cost tied to it. It's so easy to overlook during the design phase, but man, it can be financially devastating. So the solution is to make these costs impossible to ignore. You just add a big, thick arrow and a $sign. That's it. Suddenly, you've highlighted a major financial hotspot. Now, anyone looking at this diagram knows, hey, data leaving this point costs us money. All right, next up, we need to identify what I call high-cost components. These are the services that have a pretty hefty price tag right out of the box. Think about that big provisioned high-end database, or a whole fleet of specialized GPU instances. Their cost isn't really about usage, they're just expensive to have running, period. And to mark these, it's super simple: a bold border and a double $sign. Instantly, that expensive component just jumps right off the page at you. It's a clear, unmissable visual signal that this part of the system is a big chunk of your baseline spend. And finally, number 3, let's talk about the really sneaky ones: scale-sensitive pieces. These are tricky. Their cost might be tiny at first, but it can just explode, sometimes exponentially, as your traffic or usage goes up. This is classic for certain serverless functions, logging services, or auto-scaling groups that can totally get away from you if you're not careful. And for these tricky parts, you just add a simple scale symbol, like this little trending graph icon. And there you have it. With just these 3 annotations, for egress, for high-cost components, and for scale, your diagram now has a whole new layer of financial intelligence baked right in. Okay, so we've got these cool near annotations on our diagram. Awesome, but what's the point? This is the most important part. We're moving beyond just drawing lines on a page, and we're starting to drive truly intelligent design decisions. See that $sign on the egress path? It's not just a warning. It should immediately spark a question in your head, like, can we use a CDN or cache this data closer to the user? And that double $sign on the database? It forces the team to ask, hey, is there a cheaper service tier we can use? Or maybe a totally different architectural pattern? And that little graph icon, it makes you think, okay, what guardrails, what budgets, what alerts do we need to put in place here before this thing gets out of control? By adopting this really simple visual language, you're not just scribbling on a diagram. You are fundamentally changing the entire design conversation. You're giving yourself and your team a powerful new edge.
So, what's the bottom line here? What are the key takeaways? Well, first, you get proactive cost control, not reactive budget panic. You start making smarter trade-offs between performance, features, and cost. You build that desperately needed bridge between your architecture team and your FinOps team. You stop those awful, costly surprises from happening. And most importantly, you start designing for financial efficiency from day one.
And that really leaves us with just one final question to think about. The next time you look at one of your own architecture diagrams, I want you to ask yourself this: what hidden costs are my blueprints hiding?